What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we are back in the shop and we are going to continue working on the cold night here in the shop. It's like 40 degrees, which is freezing to me. But we're going to be working on getting the sliders on and the tub armor and the rear armor on. And all of that is going to be from Motobilt. So whenever I'm doing fenders, rockers, tub armor, rear armor, stuff like that, I kind of like to do brand loyalty from front to rear, so that way I know that it's all going to match and look real nice and neat. Because it'd look kind of funny if you had different companies sitting like all the way down. So I'm going with the Motobilt theme on this, so that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'm very sorry if I sound nasally. My kids got me sick again. But I'm starting to feel a little better. I don't sound any better, so I apologize about my nasally voice. All right, let's go ahead and cut this on. 40 degrees. Yeah, and you can see it kind of cleaned up in here just a little bit. Not much. So here is the rear corners. My buddy found these used and we picked them up. I guess they acid dropped them, and so we gotta get all that mess off and get them painted. And also we got the winch in, so we'll be showing how we put that on. I don't know if we're gonna be putting it on in this video, but it's pretty much self-explanatory at this point, but we'll still go over it. I just didn't have anywhere to put it, so the bumper looked like a good spot. And we need to get this inner fenders on also. We've got a lot of stuff to do. So if you're putting some rockers on your Jeep, I may be a couple of steps ahead of you. So I already have these little fender skirts, whatever they're called. I already have those out of the way. And I also already have the body bolts undone. So in my last video, you saw where I did some rust repair. I just never put the bolts back into it because I knew I was going to be putting these rockers on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a jack and a block of wood, and I'm going to put up under the body, and I'm going to pick up the body off of the frame just enough so that I can slide that rocker in between, and that way it's kind of pinched and sandwiched in there. So I'll show you how we do that. I like to use big blocks like this, that way it has a bigger footprint up on this tub, and that way you can see obviously the difference here. So instead of just all the weight of the Jeep being on this 4x4 square, you've got a bigger piece of wood pushing up on it. So I have the Jeep picked up just enough so that the rocker can slide in between the body bushing and the tub here. And I just went ahead and took the jack handle out of the jack. That way I have plenty of room coming in. And so now I'm going to be putting this on. And this would be a lot easier with two people, but it can be done. So on the bottom of this right here, you can see these two slots, and these are for the body bushing bolts to go through. And so now we'll get these on. So what I did, I just lowered it down that way it wouldn't, you know, fall off or anything. Before I start marking these holes, I want to make sure that this tub armor that we're using is going to be lining up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take these top two factory Torx these Torx bolts out, and I'll show you how I do that. So if you have a LJ or a TJ, you know that these are a huge pain in the butt to take out. But what I've figured out over the years, if you get one of these impact screwdrivers and you get the, what is it, a T40, these things, they come right out. So I'll show you how that works. So what you want to do is get a hammer and get this, and just make sure it's seated in there. Make sure there's no old paint or any rust or anything in there, and just start hitting. And see, it's already spinning. And I'm going to do the same thing on this top one right here. Just like that. I can't tell you how many of these I've broken over the years until I got this impact screwdriver. So instead of putting the Torx bolts back into this, I'm going to be using the Allen head screws from Motobilt, and I'm going to be taking this tub armor, and I'm just going to get one started up here. So I'm just going to kind of leave that loose right now. So what I want to do is I want this rocker at the bottom and this tub armor to meet up flush and look good. So I don't want to put the rocker on and, you know, then put the tub armor on and then they not match up or they start pushing against each other. I don't want that. So I'm trying to slowly put these on at the same time so that they kind of coexist better. You can see where the tub armor meets the rocker right here. You won't, so this isn't pulled in obviously, but we just want them pretty close. We don't want like a huge gap here and then no gap here or whatever. But, and then of course we have to go by these two factory bolt holes, whereas these, you put them, you just mark them and drill them. But I think it's going to look really cool, especially that steel gray. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to mark all of these holes and put some nut inserts in them. Alright, so now that I have all these marked with a paint pen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a drill bit that is just a little bit bigger than this hole right here, and I'm going to take the drill bit in, and it is going to make a perfect center punch exactly where I want it to go. And it's going to catch on the sides just a little bit. And look at that. Focus. Perfectly centered. Alright, so you can see I did it on that one and it worked. Also did it on that one and that one. So now I'm going to center punch all of these and then I can take the armor off. Alright, so now that I have all these drilled out right here, I'm actually going to take all this armor off and I'm going to start fully drilling all these holes. Not those, but you know what I'm talking about. Before I go ahead and drill the full-size hole, what I like to do is go ahead and increase the size of the pilot hole, because you don't want, the drill bit walking or anything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and at least get the hole started with this. That way I'm sure it hasn't walked anywhere. So what we're going to be using to bolt this armor on are these little nutserts here, and they came with the kit, and then a Allen head just screws right into it. You have to have a special tool like this to screw on to the nutsert, and then you stick it in the hole. Well, you actually do it like this, and then you pull tight, and what it does is it pulls this down and mushrooms this out so that you have a tight and you have nice clean threads to bolt the Allen head into. So this right here, what I always do with this size right here, I drill them out a little bit bigger. I drill them out to a 9/16. So I'm gonna get all these holes to a 9/16. And then we'll send the nutserts in. Before I put the nutserts in, what I always like to do, this is raw metal now since you've drilled a massive hole in the side. I like to use some touch-up paint. If not, then eventually this is going to start rusting. And y'all know how I feel about rust. I hate it. So if I can prevent it, I always do. So what I like to do is just go to Advanced Auto, or I think this actually came from O'Reilly's, and just paint on some paint. Just like so. And what's good about this stuff right here is touch-up paint, and it's like super thick. So it goes on really well. Go ahead and paint all these, and then I'm gonna let them sit a couple of minutes before I put the nutserts in them. So now I'm gonna take this nutsert tool and just spin the nutsert on. And I like to give just a little bit of space right there to do it. So I'll start with this one. So what you do is you insert it into the hole, and then you start tightening it up. Just like that. And then you tighten it up a couple of turns. Just like that. And just like that. Perfect. So I'll show you how you do this one. Different angle. So you just spin it on there pretty good. Stick it in the hole, just like that. And what we're doing is we're pulling down. Just like that. And then spin this in just a little bit. Just like that. All right, and that's it. So this is what the nutserts look like. Just like that. I got my little test one over here. So we got to put one there, 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 and there. And then we'll be able to put this armor back on and start trying to center it up perfectly. So I got all the nutserts in, and now what I'm going to do is get this rocker on first. And what I'm going to do is just get, one or two of the bolts in just to hold it. And I'm going to try to set the rocker on and the tub armor on at the same time. That way they kind of jive a little easier, hopefully. So I've got everything just loose on here. I've got them all started. They all started, which is a good sign. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slowly start tightening all these up. I'm not just going to start, tighten these two and, I'm just going to kind of just bounce around and tighten up just to make sure everything is good and not in a bind or doing anything weird or something that I don't like. So everything's going on very smoothly right now. So I'm going to take my Allen wrench and start tightening these up. Oh man, that looks really good. So that's the line that I was trying to achieve right there. I went ahead and threw the half door on just to kind of give it a little more of a complete look. But I think it's really going to come together once we get this armor on in the back. Sweet. We got the driver's side done also. And I went ahead and threw that little grate in. And I've got the inner fender just mocked up over here. So I'll show you how to put that on, but I was just trying to make sure I had all the correct pieces and everything. Man, that looks good. All right, so here is the Motobilt armor that we're going to be putting on the side of this Jeep. And so what we had to do, because we're running the rockers in the rear, we're actually going to have to cut off this piece right here. We've already done it on the driver's side, so I'll show you how we put it on now. This is very recommended that you do it with two people. And what we're going to do is we're going to get everything lined up, and then we're actually going to hold it down with these clamps until we get it perfectly where we want it. Got this corner armor where I want it, and so what I'm going to do is just like I did on the rockers and the tub armor, go through and I'm going to mark all these, and then I'm going to take my drill bit and use a drill bit to find the center point on each of one of these holes. I have all of these center punched right here with a drill bit. I'm going to take the armor back off and then finish drilling out all these holes. So these fender holes right here are lined up with the factory fender holes, so I don't have to mark those because they're already drilled out. I'll probably be making those holes a little bit bigger, but all in all, these holes on the Motobilt armor line up with the factory holes, so that's super convenient. So the good thing with this armor is we don't have to use the nut certs anymore. So we'll actually be using these Allen screws and then just a washer and a locking nut, because you can get to everything on the back of the tubs. With these, what I'm doing is I'm going to a 7/16 hole, and I find one of these to be a little bit easier. I have all of the bolts started on this armor here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly start tightening all of these, and just to make sure that there's no binding, making sure that all of these, there's not one pulling forward and one pulling back or anything like that. So I'm going to start tightening these down, and then we're going to take it back off because I have to paint all of the new holes that I created in the tub. So the kit does come with like a 3-inch Allen head screw, and where that goes, I believe, is right through here, and it goes right in here. So you can't reach up into this underneath to put the screw on or put the nut on the back of the bolt, but you can drill all the way through right here and stick this in, and then you can reach up behind the bumper and stick the nut on the back of this bolt. So I got all these drilled out, on all these right here drilled out also. So now I'm going to take some of that black touch-up paint and paint so that way I don't have any rust or any issues like that. So I'll be using some of this car touch-up paint to put inside of these holes right here so they don't rust. Working on that. We'll burn out. Now that this touch-up paint has had enough time to dry, we're actually going to take the armor and put on. Egg.
I've seen it, but
It's like that giant ass shark.
I think I've seen the first one.
Is there more than one?
There's like 3 of them, dude.
I got all of the armor bolts tight and everything is looking really good. So now I'm going to try to get these Motobilt fenders on right here. I really think these are going to set off this whole look that we're going for. So I did have to open these holes up just a little bit with a small drill bit, and I'm not going to take this armor off again. I'm going to take some of that automotive touch-up paint and just send in here and just be really careful with it. So for the fenders, it does come with some grade 8 hardware. And thank goodness it does come with an actual bolt, not an Allen head. I'm really tired of using Allen wrenches. But it does come with everything that you need. And so now I'll be getting the fender on. It's pretty self-explanatory, but what you do is you send the grade 8 bolt through the hole, and then you pull this inner fender liner down, and with your washer and your grade 8 lock and nut, you just reach in and get it started, and that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and start tightening up all 7 of these bolts, and they are a 7/16. So it is a new day in the shop, and as you can probably hear, it is pouring down rain. But we're gonna continue working on the TJ here, and I got a little helper in the shop today too. Say hey, Easton.
Hey, YouTube.
So I believe that we are going to go with these LED tail lights, and I think we're going to wait on doing the tail lights right now because we don't have a battery in there, and I want to, just double check with the voltmeter, and like I said, I don't have the battery in right now, so I'm probably going to go ahead and get the opposite side armor on, and then after we get that armor on, I'll do the inner fenders on that side, and then we can put a battery in, and then I can do all my wire testing and everything like that. I have the passenger side all done, and I think it looks really good. So you can see it's still raining, and now my shop has started to flood. So sorry about the terrible audio, but got to keep working. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get these inner fenders on, and then I'll get the Jeep cables all tucked up nice and pretty, and then we'll be ready for a battery. All right, so here are the three main pieces for the inner fenders. That is the motor shield, that is the actual fender itself, and then this is the upper piece right here. So I'm going to start with this, the actual fender part right here, and these holes right there, they line up with the bracket that's already on here that comes with the Highline kit. And so you've got some slots right there where you can put the bolt in, and you do have some adjustment, so that's really cool. And it does come with all of the proper hardware, so that's another really cool thing from Motobilt. So, and these are all aluminum, so they're super light and easy to work with. So this piece right here, it goes behind the fender, just like so. So I have a couple of bolts in this inner fender here, and now I'll take the upper part and, oh gosh, put that in here. Put that in here. I'm going to get a couple of these bolts in. And I'm just putting everything in here loose right now, and I'll just tighten everything when all the bolts are in. That way I know I've got it right. So here's a better look at everything. So you can see you got a nice shelf in here for the fuse block, and that's what it looks like from the inside. So now I'll get the actual motor cover and put that on. So I have all of the nuts and bolts in, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slowly start tightening up everything. And they are, the nuts is a 3/8 and the Allen wrench is a 1/8. So like I said, I'm just going to go through and slowly start tightening everything up, that way nothing's in a bind or anything like that. Other than my dirty fingerprints all over everything, I think these look pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is, so you can see all this real estate that I have right here for the fuse box. So I am going to be using, for now, the factory battery tray, and it goes right onto the Motobilt tray. And now I just got to get 4 bolts in that, and then I can secure the battery tray. Battery tray mounted, and what I'm doing now is I'm trying to get a good location for this fuse box mounted. And so I think I'm just going to use an existing bolt right here, and then I'm going to just drill 2 holes right here in the inner fender and just have it live right here. The next thing that I'm going to do is put on these Motobilt fender inserts, and of course these go on the inside, and they just use pretty much the same hardware as these right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and put some of these Allen screws all the way around. So I have everything on the driver's side done now. I have the honeycomb insert mounted. I've got all the inner fenders on. And the only thing I have to do now is put in the LED turn signals, but I'm not going to mess with that until we get a battery in there. But this thing is really looking cool. Here it is from the side here. So we did find a transfer case. It is a 231, and it does have the super short slip yoke eliminator on the back. And I'll show you the Jeep that it came out of. So check this out. So this Jeep is something else. So it's got a good motor, it's got a good transmission, it's got a good transfer case, and it also has an 8.8 in the rear. It does have some lift components. And so the guy that I bought it from, I wasn't really interested in the whole Jeep, but I was just interested in the parts. And so I was talking with the guy, and he was saying that it had, a good drivetrain, good rear axle, and that he would bring it to me for a pretty decent deal. So I was been crazy to say no. So yes, I did buy a new Jeep. No, I'm not going to build this. It is way too far gone, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I was made aware of all of these rust repairs before I bought it, but I was just not prepared to see it in person. Check this out. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Yep. That is not good. And look at this. So it looks like somebody bought a kit to repair the frame. And look at this weld. Look at the size of this weld compared to my hand. Like, look at that. So what I find really funny is that last week I uploaded a video on how to repair rust on these. And now this week I'm going to show you how not to repair rust on these TJs. So we have some more rust repair up here. And that is not pine straw, that's weld. I mean, that's weld wire. Unbelievable. We got some angle iron right here, bracing that up. Got some more rust repair. It's nice. And, yep. Jeez. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all for fixing your own stuff, and I don't bash anybody that tries to repair their own vehicle, but this, and I'm not talking junk, that is literally unsafe. I would not have my kids in this at all. But the Jeep otherwise is not that bad, except for the rust repairs. I would have rather them not repair the rust and let me fix it. But I mean, it does have full doors, it does have a hard top, it does have a tire carrier. Unbelievable. Oh. Another rust hole. Yeah, I'm not gonna be underneath that Jeep a whole lot. So just to show you how bad it's been raining today, check this out. I've never seen this before. So I was noticing all these crazy lines in my shop. And I was like, what in the world is that? And then I looked, and check this out. I got worms. Check these dudes out. So we're about to relocate these worms somewhere a little safer than my shop floor. sprinkle a little of that on them. All right, so now that the worms are safe, we'll continue working on the TJ here. Next thing that I'm going to be doing is I want to get rid of this hard line right here on where I cut the hood. And so what I like to do is what I did on my LJ and what I've done on a couple of Jeeps, is I like to get this black edge trim, and you know, this is what it is right here. It's simply just a plastic seam that, you know, it opens up. And what I like to do is I like to take just a little bit of glue and put inside of here and put it up under this right here. So I did paint this and it is dry. And so now what I'm going to do is pick up the hood, put a little bit of crazy glue or Gorilla Glue in this. I may heat this up with my heat gun just to kind of get some of the curls out of it. So I'm actually going to raise the hood to actually put this on, and you start right here. And then you can trim this where you want it. So I have the passenger side done and the driver's side done, and I would say that looks better. Couldn't look much worse, but it does look better than just the metal on metal. And plus, riding down the road with the vibrations and everything, you wouldn't want metal on metal right here either, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, that's probably going to be everything that I do on this video for this TJ build. I really appreciate y'all watching. But in the next video on this, we should be getting the transfer case in, the shocks on, and brake lines, the bumper on, the winch on, stuff like that. So expect to see that in the upcoming future for this build. If you don't mind, hit that like button and make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any other content on this build. And make sure that you check out Onyx Off-Road. I do have a discount code. It is 6 Feet Under Fab. It's a sick app that you can use for any off-roading, hunting, anything like that. So definitely check that out. Once this Jeep is done, we are taking this thing straight to the trails, and we're going to be testing out the tires, the suspension, and everything that we've done to it. So definitely stay tuned for that. But anyway, we'll see you on the next one.